Minneapolis City.
Post goals!
The People's Pitch Podcast, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
Good day, my friends, and welcome to the People's Pitch, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City SC. As always, I am Nate, and I'm joined by my co-host, John. John, did you spend today listening to a lot of Elliott Smith? A lot of real depressing shit.
No, it was more
Lays.
It was more Nick Drake.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. Well, I mean, I'm getting through. The only thing keeping me going is Pokemon. Are you playing the Pokemon?
No, Nate. I play real games like soccer. So, I'm not playing Pokemon.
Oh man! Also the whiskey. I've got the whiskey.
Yeah, the whiskey helped. So did the Summit. The Summit helped.
That's for sure. So we had an up and down weekend, man. So we're gonna go through a little bit of everything this week. We're gonna touch on many emotions. We've got a recap of the Summit Keg Match. We're going to do a recap, kind of talk about what happened this weekend in the PLA, and then a full breakdown of this Rapids debacle from Sunday, and then a preview of next Sunday's season finale versus the Minnesota United Reserves. Can you dig it?
Yes. So should we dive right in and talk about the Summit Keg Match?
Yeah, let's start with the good news, man. Good news first.
Well, actually, it was a little bit of somber news when it came to the Summit Keg. For those of you who were there and follow us on social media, we won. We won the keg match. We won an actual keg, and we proceeded to lose it for 48 hours.
Classic. And then all of a sudden the citizens show up with a very similar looking keg.
No, classic us. We literally left it where we put it before we left the stadium. So it sat for 2 days at a high school on a table.
Oh, well, that's good. I was wondering because I saw Dave Baker had it, and I thought he took it, but he just found it.
No, he sniffed it out for us. We put the bloodhounds on the case, and we got it. So it was somber news, and then it was great news. Yeah. So let's dive in and talk about how this game came together and why we had this match. And it kind of all harkens back to a year ago when our men's league side Stegmans played against FC Fargo in their inaugural season. They were in the MPSL Provisional League. The Midwestern Provisional League, which they're no longer in. They're in the American Premier League now. And they needed to get a certain amount of games to show the MPSL they could actually, field a team, have the infrastructure, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So they contacted us. We said yes. We played a home and away with them, and we've talked about it kind of at length, multiple times throughout here on the podcast. But we drew where we lost both games by 1 goal each there in a way, and then when we were kind of conceiving Minneapolis City as an organization, they reached out to us, and then seeing that Summit had skin in the game for both organizations, us more so than them, being that we had a relationship with Summit for a few more years than them, it was really a no-brainer to kind of keep that alive, and then might as well put a trophy on the line that travels. So, it was like I said, no-brainer. The folks that run FC Fargo, very much so friends of the club, foes on Friday, but multiple foes on Friday actually. Foes on the field and faux-back jerseys. We wore the retro jerseys. They looked sharp.
That was great. I thought they looked pretty cool.
And it was kind of a surprise. The guys actually didn't know we were going to wear them until they turned up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they were all out, on the benches in the locker room.
Well, I knew you were being cagey about it last week when I was giving that preview that we'd be wearing the fullbacks, and you said, "Oh, maybe we won't."
Well, we actually had to pull some strings because they didn't send the socks, so we actually had to go out and buy the socks.
Oh.
it was kind of a task. Big ups to Stegman's member Alvo, who he's been helping out with some game day stuff, but he was able to help us track down 20 pairs of white socks. So, anyways, friend of the club, FC Fargo is foe on Friday. But what we really were trying to accomplish with this game was a few things. One, pride. They're a neighboring team. They beat a Stegman's team twice last year. As we know, Stegman's is what powers Minneapolis City. So definitely pride was on the line. It was also a chance for us to get another 90 minutes for the guys who are on the team. Maybe some of the guys who don't necessarily play as much, as well as the guys just needing more field time before they go to college. Mm-hmm. And then really, showing that the PLA is a strong league and matching our team from our league against another team from a different league and showing kind of the, what we're made of and that this league that a lot of people didn't know about actually, it's got some hair on its chest. And and we showed that in the fact that the scoreline was 6-0.
Yeah.
Just a quick rundown of before we talk about actually the game itself, but the goals came from Ryan Camerata. A lot of goals. Ryan Camerata scored in the first half. We went into the locker room at halftime, 1-0, right at the death at 45. He scored a really nice goal off some really nice individual play. And then as soon as second half came out, we'll talk about how the goals came in a little bit, but Sam Forsgren got on the scoreline 15 minutes in the second half. Camerata, 8 minutes later, scored his second game of the match, winning him the man of the match honors. Ike Forsgren scored shortly after that, followed by an own goal, and then Will Kidd capping off the scoring just about close to the 90-minute mark. But other stuff to talk about, I think throughout we showed we were the better team. I don't know what your thoughts were on that, but it was pretty much one-way traffic.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that I was a little worried because I knew that we'd kind of played up the fact that our league was on a different level than their league, that our team should beat them. I know they had played on an FC Minneapolis team, I think is the team that they beat like 7-0.
And they're garbage.
Right, and that team's garbage, so I'm thinking like, okay, if we're way better than FC Minneapolis and we're supposed, these guys we should have no problem with them, and then we only go in with a 1-0 lead right at the end, with a goal right at the end of the first half. I thought, uh-oh. But then, they only came with 11, which was unfortunate, and we've been there.
Yeah.
We've been there. And then it started, the talent gap started to rear its head as they just weren't able to maintain their stamina.
Right. And them coming with 11 was a little bit surprising. We talked last week about, some of the players they do have. And I mentioned two in particular that are really tidy players.
Yeah.
One being their target man, Jay Johnson, who used to play with the Madison 56ers, which we played against twice. And then JP Songolo, who is a really great midfielder. So it was neither of those guys came. And it was a real lonely bench for their coach. The only person sitting on their bench. And of course, in true fashion, our supporter group, the Citizens, was giving them just total garbage. Like, why do you even need a bench? And just,
Did we just give them a chair?
We could have just given him a chair, or he just could have stood. I mean, really. But as far as the game goes on, like you mentioned, it was one-way traffic. The talent gap definitely, it shined through like the bright sunny evening that it was in Minneapolis, that we have players that are head and shoulders above what Fargo brought down. And I know they have some talent and they only brought 11, but even if they did bring their full squad, I don't think it would have worried the guys that we rolled out there. And we saw the debut of a couple new boys. We saw, Luke Hackinson get his first sniff out there. Jack Mylar. I always get it wrong. Jack Mylar making his first appearance coming off of a lengthy ankle injury, which was good to see him out there. And then we got, some more guys from Stegman's like Ryan Camerata, who's been kind of on the fringes of the team, but got more minutes, scored 2 nice goals, got man of the match. So
Yeah, he's definitely been a reserve player up until now, and that was nice to see him, come through with a couple goals. And it wasn't like the goals were coming easy at that point, so
Right, exactly.
that was cool.
Exactly. And then we got to see Big Duncan get a chance to play some more minutes in goal, and it was the first time since he kind of didn't have the best go around against the Croatians in Milwaukee. So it was good to see him out there and for him to get a shutout and build that confidence as he goes into going back to Los Angeles and starting off his college career.
Yeah, for sure. So real quick, just kind of about kind of how the game ended. I felt like it turned into more of a training exercise, and I talked to both Andy and Jack about that, and it kind of felt like at first it was just kind of get the team getting warm for the first 45, and we shouldn't have been worried. And then by the end of the game, it was really just kind of fun time USA when they put Elder out there at forward, and maybe a questionable decision if they wanted him healthy for Sunday. But anyway, eventually it's just like we just started screwing around when it was 6-0, and I did kind of feel bad for Fargo at that point.
I've been on the other end of those before, and it's not fun for anybody when you are on that end. And I did feel a little bit bad, and we were giving them some garbage, but all in all, it was all definite playful fun. But also, it just showed that when we come to party, we party. We don't mess around. We put it all out there, whether we're on the positive end of the score sheet, or as we'll talk about a little bit later, on the back end, on the negative end of the score sheet.
Really awesome atmosphere. It was great to have Fargo in town. We really, really want to thank them for making the trip. I know that's no easy drive, and that's from a guy who just drove all the way to San Diego and back.
Yeah, and we were going to do a home and away, and we decided to kind of reduce those travel costs to just do the death match, the one-time game. So we look forward to many more Summit Keg matches, whether it's against Fargo or maybe we bring in a Milwaukee team into it or whoever.
Yeah.
Maybe Duluth stops running their mouths on Twitter and they come down here for a match and we put the keg on the line.
Duluth as a team?
Yes, they do. They're in the APL with Fargo.
Oh, okay. All right.
And let's just say that they're not doing as well as Fargo in the APL. So maybe we do bring them down and see what happens.
That would be great.
And then they stop running their mouths on Twitter.
So I grabbed a couple of our players after the game to see if maybe this big win, 6-0, could potentially get them on the right foot against Rapids. And I want to make. There were a lot of people out for the game, so it got kind of loud in the interviews. You can hear the background noise, and there's a little chaos, but it was worth it because I think we got some really good sound bites out of our friend Andy, who's always good for an interview. Oh. And then we talked to Jack.
Yeah, Andy's definitely the walking soundbite.
Yeah, he is.
Like every whether he's on your team or not, if you don't feel comfortable talking to the press, just tap in Andy. Even if he doesn't play, he'd be great to hear from. So why don't we hear from Jack first?
So I'm here with Jack Myler. Myler, that's correct. I was corrected by I think Kevin's dad. He pulled me aside in Cedar Rapids and said, "You've been pronouncing it wrong the whole time." Welcome to the team, man. So you've been with us for about a month and a half or thereabouts.
Signed with the team. Mm-hmm.
But you had some fitness issues. Obviously, you were nursing an injury. Now you're feeling good?
Yeah, feeling good. I've been rehabbing 3-4 times a week for that month and a half that I've been out. I'm very excited to get back. I trained Wednesday actually with the team. Finally got some minutes in. Finally got to play out here and just see what the team is like when we're actually in game like. And it was really good to see. I mean, high-level players. Good result. I mean, for the team we played, they were in a tough position with limited players and things, but I mean, it does show that we can still win in these situations and kind of dominate the entire game and not have any slip-ups or no goals. To get that clean sheet is very, very important, I think.
Yeah. A lot has been said about the condition of our field. Was it good to get out and kind of play a game, or at least play some minutes on this field to see what it's all about, so you're used to it for Sunday's big game?
Yes, for sure. Training on turf to this is definitely a big change, just in pace of the play, touches, trapping the ball. It is very, very different. And to get out here and actually get to play on it is very, very good, just to learn kind of how to react in certain situations, especially when the ball takes a funny bounce or something like that. even to know to get your fitness level up, because it is a little bit more difficult running in this longer grass, especially when it is so bumpy and just it's tough. It's tough. So I was happy, very, very happy to get 60, 62 minutes, I think is what I got, and to go through that entire time, not have any setbacks. I really think even on this tough field, it was very, very important to get that confidence back before Sunday's game.
That's good. In your mind, knowing that they're not going to hear this before you play them, in your mind, is there something you'd like the team to a way that you'd like the team to play, or a way that you'd like things to go on Sunday to kind of take advantage of this field?
I really think like how we did tonight and really spreading them out. They were trying to sit back a lot, but we ended up getting a lot of possession in that midfield third, and really spread them out a lot in the sense that we could just pick them apart in their defensive third, which really I thought was crucial to have in that possession in that final third, and getting those small little touches. You saw our forwards getting them all night. It was awesome. It was fun to just even sit back in the center back and watch it all happen, because everything was just, it was almost like they were painting on the canvas. It was really, really fun to watch.
So you did sit back as a center back tonight. Is that the preferred position that you'd like moving forward, or what else are you comfortable with?
I've played center back in the past. I'm more of a holding center mid. Is what I play out at school. But honestly, wherever they need me, I'm open to play, just as long as I'm getting minutes, getting fit. I'm really, really hopeful to get as much time as I can on Sunday and games in the future, and just get back my fitness coming back from this long injury, nursing it like that. It's tough to get back to that top fitness level, playing that full 90 minutes in a big game like we have on Sunday.
Yeah. So last question, man. First game back happens to be the throwback game. Joining the team and knowing that it's got the kind of character to do a throwback jersey or a throwback night in its first season, what are you telling your friends? What are you telling your colleagues about when you go to like the U.S. When you're training with the under 20 national team, things like that? When you go back to Harvard, how are you going to talk about this summer?
Oh God, it's actually pretty cool. It's a very, very high professional level that I didn't know what to expect kind of coming in, because I've only gotten to a few trainings, and to see a game like this where it is throwback and there's a theme and we have a great fan section coming in and supporting with the posters and everything like that, it's cool. I really enjoy it, and I'm glad to see that it's happening for this team in its first year. To see that they have this good fan support is awesome. When I go back to school, I really hope that we can win a couple games, make it further into this season and finish, top of the table, which would be fun coming in our first year, and to really have that professional style of play here is awesome. I really, really enjoy it.
Excellent. Well, thanks a lot, Jack. We'll see you in a couple days, man. Good luck on the field.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
So first game for Jack. It's good to see him finally get on the field after a long month and a half absence. His appearance has been much anticipated, at least in my mind.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and also that I could tell seeing him at training, like he really wanted to get out on the field.
Yeah.
And, he came out a little bit late with other commitments, and he really wanted in. And this was his first opportunity to get in. So it's great. It was really great to see him out there.
And, I thought he did pretty well. I only noticed him at the center back role. You're telling me he played a couple different roles.
Yeah, he traditionally, like he mentioned, he's more of a defensive center midfield player, but with his size, and his composure on the ball, it partners well with how we like our center backs to play. And he's played back there before, so what we can do is we can keep AJ and even like a Steve or a Max in their natural position, and then use Jack to kind of supplement at that center back role, but also knowing that he can go forward. And we'll get into his play against Cedar Rapids in a little bit, but definitely his versatility was great. And I think the one other thing that he mentioned, which was great, was talking through, how it was good for him coming off of injury, even if he wasn't coming off of injury, to come into this team and to further develop himself in the offseason from college and eventually going back to Harvard for his next season. And that's really what we're building here. We're trying to win, obviously, a conference title and a league title, but at the end of the day, it's all about development and keeping these guys fresh and keeping the talent here.
Yeah, another thing I really liked about talking to Jack was it really sounds like he's going to be a good ambassador for the program as he goes forward. That was something I was curious about because we don't really get I didn't really have an opportunity over the course of the season to talk to a lot of guys about how they're going to take the impressions that they got of Minneapolis City away for the rest of the year, and it seems like he's really impressed with kind of with the organization and the professionalism, but also the fun that we have. So I mean, that's kind of cool. It'll be cool to hear if that makes an impact at all, and if that kind of increases our recruitment pool moving forward.
Well, right. I mean, go back to being in college, right? And, from a soccer player perspective, you have an atmosphere of college sports, whether it be football or basketball or any of the kind of ancillary sports at colleges like soccer, and
Good word.
And thank you. I'm not the writer. I'm not the writer here. You are, but but so they have a little bit of an atmosphere in college around their sport, right?
Yeah.
Their buddies come out, they cheer them on, they heckle the shit out of the opposing team, and we've created that with our supporters group, the Citizens, and that support and the singing of the songs and that professional supporters kind of atmosphere we've created is something cool for these guys, and then it makes them cool feel like it's really cool for us, and it makes them feel supported, and it is that fun too, and in any sport it's a game, right? And you want to have fun playing it. Sometimes it gets really serious no matter what level you're at. Just look at all the parents in youth sports, right? The game gets taken out of context a lot of times because it gets competitive. But to have fun as an organization and to have these younger guys realize that is really what we were going for.
Cool. Well, we also got a chance to talk to Andy. You'll hear in the interview that I was talking to Andy about grabbing Jack as Jack walked by because I hadn't been able to catch him beforehand, and you'll hear that. So bear with us. But again, as usual, we got some good Andy Laurie sound bites here.
Just high production value on this podcast. All right, let's hear what Andy had to say.
If we see him, we'll grab him. He's got to go out this way.
All right, Andy Laurie, starter in this Summit Keg competition. Dude, so obviously not the most important match of the season, but it's still very important for our fitness, important to get us ready for Sunday. What were you guys talking about in the locker room beforehand? How are you approaching this game as it relates to the rest of the season?
Well, I mean, I think the last game didn't go so well, so it was just important to come out and just kind of feel good about our team and just stay focused and take care of the results. I think early on, obviously we missed some chances, but no, it was big. It was just, just a little bit of focus and, getting the guys loose and just ready to go. And, I mean, enjoy it. I think that our last game, we were tight and we were tense, and we didn't enjoy the game. So I think the big thing was just going out there and having fun. And, it was a pretty loose pregame.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. It was nice to see the guys enjoy the game. It was nice to see some jokes. It was interesting to see Matt Elder coming out as a forward. Hey, can I grab you for? Sure. Okay. Interesting to see Matt Elder coming out as a forward. But in general, it was really important to get the team working together, to get guys more familiar with each other, especially guys like Jack or Luke who are, first time on the field competitively.
For sure.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think it was perfect. I mean, they're a decent side. I know they were missing a couple guys, but it gave us a good run around, and obviously the first half was pretty tight, and it was perfect environment for Jack and Luke to come in and just get some touches and get part of the group and get a feel for how the guys play.
So 2 days until our next game. We've got Sunday against Cedar Rapids, and it's kind of a must-win. I mean, it definitely is a must-win.
It is a must-win.
If we want to move forward into the playoffs. How are you guys treating this? As a warm-up, as kind of just some fitness?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit of a warm-up. We just wanted to see the ball go back in the back of the net a few times. And, I mean, just a little. We only practiced on Wednesday, so it was kind of just one more of a training session, just get the legs out and play a little bit and play together. So, just a prep.
Got to give credit to FC Fargo coming out and competing.
Yeah,
they only had
awesome. 11
guys. We've been there before.
We have. We have been there before.
They actually fought really in the first half.
They put up a good battle. I mean, they were aggressive, laying everything on the line. And again, it's not their best team. In this league, it's definitely it's a little bit of who showed up league as far as are the very best guys coming week in and week out. And, for who they had on the field, they did very well. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, Andy. I'm going to see you Sunday. Hopefully we'll talk to you then.
Sounds good.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
All right, so always great to talk to Andy. What I liked about talking to him was he was able to kind of ground the game in kind of what it was. He knew that the game needed to be taken seriously where it needed to be taken seriously. That the team needed to prepare themselves for Sunday, but they could still have a little fun doing it, to get morale up after last week's defeat. So, I really appreciate that. And I think he's really got a good grasp of he's a good way to kind of get a feel for what the rest of the team is feeling.
Well, right, and you can tell that he's, he was a former pro, and he knows what we're trying to accomplish here, and he knows the right things to do, the right way to act, the consummate player that we want to have, right? Good attitude, works hard, is good at soccer, and and keeps everyone a lighthearted attitude, right? And that fun.
Absolutely, and I think the best thing about Andy, kind of why I feel the best about him being on the team, or what makes me feel the best about him being on the team, is that he does know what we're trying to accomplish here, and he's totally on board with it.
Right. Yeah, and we have a couple of those guys, right? We have, and they're the majority of the older players, right? You have Elder, you have AO, you have Wexler, you have Engel, and you have Andy, and even though Trey's still in college going into his last season, Trey, right? So you have those guys, and then you sprinkle in this younger mix of people, and you get a guy like Will Kidd, who's maybe not as outspoken as Andy, but he goes to work and plays hard, and he does his thing, right? And
that's for sure.
These younger guys, we talk to them and how well spoken they are, and how they understand that they love playing for their city when they come home. It's an outlet for them to continue to stay sharp, like we mentioned, and it's a blessing that we're able to do this again next year, because hopefully we're going to go through player interviews from an organizational perspective after the season, and we're going to take things that not only guys like Andy and Elder and those older guys have to say, both good and bad, about how things went, and then as well as these younger guys, and hopefully they come back and we start building what these other teams in the league have.
What do you know, John? Soccer is a blessing. Soccer is a gift.
It is.
After all this time.
Yeah, Jeremy had it right.
Jeremy was right. So while we were starting the weekend with a nice warm-up against Fargo, really the fight for the top two playoff spots in the East and the West had already started. In the East, Toledo had they all but locked it up.
Yeah.
They beat RW Adria 4-2. Toledo United did, and that all but puts the regular season title away for them. Congrats, that's awesome.
Yep.
Adria has to beat Borealis by 5 at least to make it interesting, and Borealis beats Grand Rapids 5-2. That's just really a battle for the bottom of the table. So better luck next year, guys. Which means Toledo United is at the top of their table with 22 points. They've got a 5-goal advantage over Adria. Even if fourth place Carpathia swept their upcoming doubleheader, their goal differential is currently, I think, -2.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd have a really hard time. They'd have a really hard time leapfrogging Adria's goal differential of 10.
Yeah, it's pretty much over.
Yeah, Oakland County has only 14 points. They've got 1 game left. They're really hoping for a third-place finish. They're hoping for Carpathia to stay cold. John, I don't know how the playoffs really work in this league because I haven't done any research. But do you still like Toledo to advance from the East? Do you like Toledo in the finals?
Yes. So here's what happens. I believe 1 plays 4 and 2 plays 3, and how that works out as
it's regardless of league, I should say.
Yes, that's how I read the bylaws of the season.
Okay.
And how in the beginning when we were working with the league. So as it stands right now, I believe it's the Bavarians will play against the second place team in the East.
Adria probably.
Which will probably be Adria, and then Toledo goes up against Rapids.
Okay.
So if we would have gone through, we would have ended up running into the buzzsaw that is Toledo United, and that would have been a heavy task for us to kind of overcome. So, I honestly, when it comes, now that we're not, we're going to talk about what happened in their game against Cedar Rapids. And, majority of people who listen to this already know what did happen. But I really want nothing more than to see a Bavarians-Toledo final. I really do. It'll be streamed online. We'll post everything out. So, at the end of the month,
that'd be great to see.
It'll be available for folks outside of the live game to be able to watch it online. And I think that we're sending, regardless of us not going, we're sending the best team that our division could have sent in the Bavarians up against the best that they have to offer. Cedar Rapids, and we'll talk about them. Not a huge fan of them as an organization or some of their players, but they are not a bad team. And,
or their girlfriends.
Yeah, or their girlfriends, or their parents, their coworkers, their pets. Yeah, screw their pets.
Well, you go ahead.
Yeah. But they're not gonna go to the playoff and not show well because they're a good team. So yes, I think Toledo is my team that gets out of it. The Bavarians are a little tired, but they are a good squad. So
well, and it's in the West. It's getting a little tense for the Bavarians.
Yeah,
they beat the Croatians 1-0 on Wednesday in what turned out to be a really much needed win for them. And it ends the Croatians' disappointing season on Wednesday. John, what would you have said was more likely at the start of the season for the Croats? A top 2 finish or a bottom 2 finish?
I actually expected them to finish where they did.
Really?
And yes, and us to be in the mix for the playoffs as we were. I didn't expect, I didn't really know who it was going to be against that we would be fighting. Thought maybe the Croatians. But we found out it was Cedar Rapids, and I knew the Bavarians would finish in the top half, whether it was us 1, 2, them 1 or 2. That's what I thought, but the Croatians, it only shows that they've kind of fallen off since winning the amateur championship a few years ago. And in terms of Milwaukee soccer being, as strong as it is, the Bavarians have climbed since that kind of fixture for the Croatians, and the Croatians have kind of gone in the other direction. And it's when the Croatians came here for the first time and I watched them play, it was kind of a shell of what I thought they were from the history that I have with the organization. To answer your question, I didn't think they were going to be in either the bottom or the top half. I thought they'd be right in the middle.
Huh, that's interesting because going into the season, I was kind of thinking like these are the 2 established teams in the league.
Well, right. I mean,
these are the guys. These are the powerhouses, if you will, and here they are bombing out.
Much of that
even against the reserves, who we have no respect for.
Right, and much of that could have also been said about the 56ers, right? I mean, that's an established organization.
That's true.
Well. And then you look at Minnesota United; they're a pro organization, right? So what the hell happened?
Yeah.
What the hell happened there?
And speaking of the 56ers, man, they beat the United Reserves 4-1 this weekend. I mean, that's the Reserves. That's the worst defeat of the league this season, right? Outside of the 6-0 thrashing that the Bavarians gave to Madison, but that's Madison. You don't expect to lose to Madison like that against the bottom of the table,
right? And that was at home
losing
too,
to them.
Right?
Yeah, that's gonna hurt. So next week we kind of both have something to prove, both us and the reserves, because the Rampage came to town, man, and I still got the ice pack on the nutsack, dude. Like, just to be, let's get into the recap. Just to be clear to the listeners, man, this was another game that you got to coach. So you are the podcast's post-game interview. This is it. It's happening.
Yeah, it is. We're doing it live, folks.
So why were you on the bench?
So as we know, this isn't a full-time thing for anyone, from players to the organization, and then that goes up to the coaching staff. So, we have kind of a triad of coaches, with Coach Kicker being the top of the triangle. And we have Jeremy and Adam. And, and then I help fill in as needed, being that I'm part of the organization, right? So, Coach Kicker had some personal things that he had to tend to, and, life goes on, whether it's soccer related or not. So, due to the fact that he had some things he had to take care of, we all step in and we help out. So me being, the nice guy that I am, I help step in and I sit next to Jeremy on the sidelines for the game.
Something tells me that you kind of revel in that. You love substitute coaching, don't you?
Well, I have a relationship with these guys, with the guys on the team, and I'm a soccer mind, whether or not people agree with my thoughts or not, but I can step in if needed. And, I'd prefer that we have others that are doing that job, but I'm willing to help out, and I do like it. And it was an awesome opportunity, and I'm grateful that I had the chance.
I think it was the great Jurgen Klinsmann that once said soccer coaching is a relationship game. I just made that up. So the starting 11, man, you're going to give us some insight into this then. I saw it maybe as a 4-3-3, because we had Elder in goal. And then we had Lance Gaspar on the left back, Trey and Nate in the center, AO as the right back, AJ as the holding mid, with Wex and Luke maybe up top, and then Sam, Will Kidd, and Andy in the forward role. We're missing maybe a few key components for this game, like Samo, Ba, and Goose. But that's kind of that's how I felt like you lined up. Is that correct?
We very close. So the formation was a 4-4-2. Which was actually you're not far off. It was a modified 4-4-2, and instead of having our three alone in a triangle in the middle, we had a diamond. So at the base of the diamond was AJ holding. Then we had...
You like that diamond. That's the same thing you did against Madison.
Yeah, and it honestly, it wasn't me. It was a suggestion from Jeremy to play that role. And so then what you have then is in front of AJ is you have the two winger. You have a triangle in front of him with the two central midfielders, and then an all-out attacker from a midfield standpoint in front of him, which was Luke for the game, and then having some support underneath Andy so that he wasn't all alone isolated, which is kind of what happens sometimes in our 4-3-3. So it was close to our 4-3-3.
But we were missing a few key dudes. Samo was gone. Abdallah Ba, I think 4-time player of the week. Abdallah Ba was gone. Goose still hobbled by injury.
Yeah, so we were missing also Matthew Guay. And Matthew and Abdallah were missing for team rules reasons. Some logistical things that are kind of mandatory from our players. Understanding availability and coming to training and coming to matches when selected. So those two were ineligible for the game.
That was part of I don't want to say the reset, but that was part of the reestablished expectations that you guys put on the players as of a couple weeks ago, right? right.
And it's only fair, right? Mm-hmm. Give the opportunities to the guys that are able to take them, and if you are afforded the opportunity to take on responsibility to play, you should follow through with that. They were unable to follow through on that. Totally sucks. They're great guys, great players, but it is a rule, and we follow it, right? And we hold each other accountable. As far as Samo goes, Samo was on notified leave, so he had some life.
You guys knew.
He had some life stuff to take care of. We knew that. And then Goose, like you mentioned, still hobbled by injury. So I think there were two parts of this that killed us from guys that weren't available. Obviously, you mentioned Abdallah is well decorated in the league and is every part the hype that we were given, because we really didn't know a lot about Abdallah, right?
Yeah, did he come recommended from Trey?
No, he came recommended from Coach Kicker. So, and then through a couple other guys that had played with him at the club level, youth club level. So obviously, Abdallah would have helped on the outside against their kind of speedy, tricky forwards.
Yeah, man.
Samo obviously would have helped because it looked like outside of AJ, and then in the second half, Luke, we were kind of missing that energy in the middle. And then, obviously Goose being the attacking juggernaut, all 5 foot 5 inches of him, and all 18 years and 100 pounds soaking wet of him. We miss him, and we've missed him from an attacking perspective throughout the season.
So they came out and they pressured us hard in the first 10 minutes with that same over-the-top game plan that we saw on the road, and then probably no surprises there, right?
Well, we knew what their strengths were from the last time we played them, and despite being an indoor team, they really executed well on our field. I thought we would have had the advantage, right, being that we've played on our field, and it's no surprise that our field is not conducive to our playing style. But yes, they executed. Their game plan works everywhere, right? And we learned with the game against Madison. Fortunately, we were able to come out the victors in that game. But where were their strengths? On set pieces. Where did they score their goals? On set pieces. So they practice those set pieces just like Cedar Rapids, practices the kind of kick and run game plan. And it's unfortunate that we have such good, skillful possessors of the ball that we lose to a team that plays kick and run.
Yeah, what was our game plan then?
Well, now that I say that, our game plan was actually similar to what theirs was. We said that we had to grind out a victory in order to it was a must-win game, as we all know. And our outlook going into the game, and we talked to the guys about beforehand, was looking to just get the ball forward and knowing that there's going to be a weird bounce or an offside's not called where we get an opportunity to score. And they were the first team that day to execute what the game plan was. And both teams tried it, and they were the one that was successful.
So speaking of their game plan, Lance got eaten alive on that left side. And we talked about missing him. But how valuable would Ba or even E-Man have been instead of Lance on that side for this game?
Well, let's first off start out by saying that I'm a big fan of Lance. The guy works
nothing against him.
He works super hard. He's a great soccer player. It wasn't his day. He had a down match. But we told our guys a couple clear things. The first one was eliminate turnovers in our defensive third, and that is really what actually culminated in 3 of their goals, right? It killed us. And what we wanted our defensive line to do was to not cause risk by holding onto the ball or making that risky pass that on our field would potentially turn into some sort of defensive turnover. Because their team will... And as we saw, their team, they put their chances away, right? Like they get them and then they executed on them. And we wanted to eliminate those, and we didn't. But as far as it boils down to Lance being out there, and what we saw from his play was that, it looked like he was thinking a little bit too much. And instead of sticking to the game plan of trying to hit the channels and trying to find our forward line and maybe even skipping that midfield, with a long ball, he was thinking about it too much to a point where he started holding on to it and he created those turnovers himself.
Yeah, nothing. Not to just pick on Lance, but I think in general that was an issue that our back line had was a lot of dribbling when they should have just been booting that thing down the field to relieve the pressure.
Right, and that's what sucks because. Again, we are built for a possession-based style of play where we keep the ball and we attack as a unit. And that's
kind of what they're taught to do, trained to do. What they're used to doing for our team was kind of keep the ball, try to dribble out of danger, and pass off to someone like a Wex or a Samo who ordinarily would have been there.
Or or to look to play off of a long ball off of Andy, or
Yep.
in the second half, Tim. Like those guys that are good at holding up play or flicking the ball onto wingers or central players that are kind of supporting them. And it just didn't happen, man. And we talked about it, and we hit it home, and it just wasn't there for us. And the other part, too, is that their forwards you can totally tell that they're indoor players because they're fast as hell. They're relentless, and that's what you see in the indoor game because the field being so short. And they're used to starting the defensive pressure in our defensive third when they lose the ball or we win the ball. And it just sucked because they were all over us, and up until the second half, we couldn't get anything going, and it showed. And we were down 3-0 at halftime.
So even though they were all over us, the attack kind of looked sluggish in the first half. Not a lot of urgency. How much of that was low morale after two quick goals, one of them being extremely questionable?
Yeah, I'd say the first goal was our fault. The second goal, I was on that side, and the lines person for the second game in a row wasn't with the last defender again, which caused the inability for them to call the offsides. Mm-hmm. And what happened is that the forward that was offsides wasn't involved in the play from a perspective of getting the ball. What happened is he laid a pick on AO, who was tracking the guy who was onside. So the guy did affect the play, which should have been called offsides because he impeded our defender from tracking back.
Okay.
So the guy who scored the goal wasn't offsides. I want to make that clear. But the guy who was offsides absolutely affected the chance for our defender to have equal shot at getting the ball.
Oh, okay. That's a different. I hadn't heard that take on how offsides works. That's cool.
Yeah. So if you're in an offside position and you're involved at all in the play, this should be called. Yeah. And that's why you see a lot of where a guy is offsides and then he goes back and gets the ball and then they get whistled offsides and everyone's like, well, he got the ball like right in front of the defender. He was in an offside position and he came forward and he affected the play.
Gotcha.
So that's what happened. But all in all, it was huge to go down, and the guys dug a massive trench to dig out to get out of. And as far as our attack goes, we can take the credit for it at home all season from an organization perspective in league play. Obviously, we scored a bunch of goals against Fargo, but we don't have the surface to play the style of play that we like to play. And we told the guys beforehand, knowing this is a must-win game, I think they pressed a bit and mentally thinking of that. They were just trying too much instead of just playing their game. Soccer is a funny game, and we talked about that. But we wanted to try to bypass our midfield a little bit in that possession style and just get the ball forward and create chances because we know on our field a ball could bounce one way or the other and, a guy's in on a chance. But we did fight back in the second half, which we'll get into. What we also saw in the first half was that our center midfield was kind of all out of sorts, which we talked about with the guys in game, was shoring up how we're being positionally. Sam and Luke were playing very linear, like one in front of the other. And then you have AJ in behind them. And what was happening was they were creating those little triangles. We talked about them creating the first time we played them on a faster surface. And they were creating those triangles in the middle right in front of AJ and behind our two center midfielders. So he would then have to make the decision, do I step or do I stay and guard the guy I'm guarding? And then you're just all out of sorts. And they're creating those triangles and the 1-2s. And it was just burning us. And we talked about how to fix that in the second half, which we'll get into in a little bit.
So speaking of, my question on the refs being questionable, they seemed really content to let Rapids just kind of be Rapids. This is a team that kind of was flopping all over.
They were on the ground the whole game. It was really frustrating. Really, really frustrating.
They were playing dirty. The refs missed a handball right in front of our net, and they missed a kick to the face of Nate Engel that we've got on camera. Like the photographer for 55-1 has a really nice shot of it. What do you do in a game like that? What do you do in a game where everything's going against you and even the stuff that's kind of beyond the rule book is sliding by?
Well, I thought that our guys did exactly what I would expect in a game like that, specifically with like a 13-year-old guy reffing the game. The guy looked like he was maybe not like a day over 15, which was a little bit frustrating too. That, I know the assistant ref that was on our side, and he's a very seasoned, great referee. And I talked to him after the game and just said, why were you not in the middle? And his simple explanation was that's not who the league assigned. So, I thought that they kept going into challenges hard. They didn't let the dodgy calls dictate their aggressiveness. And if you look at it, AJ just kept blowing guys up, and never.
That's true.
And it got to.
Which is why I love him.
Right, the beast from the east, right?
Just hearing the crunch and the slap of him just laying a forearm to some fool.
Well, he's so big that it doesn't take a lot for him to throttle a guy. But it got to a point where those little guys just started shying away from 50-50 challenges. And, when you're a central midfield player, whether it be, true centrally or defensively or even attacking, if you dictate the tempo by going in really hard, the opportunity for turnover on a 50-50 ball is more so in the middle than anywhere on the field. If guys shy away, that can really create a chance for you to spark an attack. And I think we got a lot of that out of AJ and just being completely intimidating, on the field.
Sweet. So you go into the locker room down at half, 3-0. What do you even say to the guys at that point?
Good question. I thought Jeremy and I talked a little bit. We let the team go in first and let them kind of hash things out on their own and get it all off their chests without us being there, which is, I thought it was a great move because it gave them the opportunity to hold each other accountable and not necessarily point fingers, right? We don't want that, but to just get pumped up that they did that to us in the first half. We absolutely can do that to them in the second half. And I thought, the plan of attack that Jeremy and I kind of put forth when we were standing in the hallway listening to them kind of get all emotional about what happened in the first half was he did a wonderful job of addressing what did happen. And he put it the only way that you can. And I mentioned before that soccer's a funny game, and they did what they did in the first half, and that was punch us straight in the face. But life does that sometimes too, right? And the only way really to overcome that is to just bluntly sack up and punch it right back in the face. And I think for the most part, they took what we said there and they did that, and especially in a must-win game. So what we did was we made one change at halftime, removing Lance, who it just wasn't his day, like we mentioned. But we told the starters, this is a must-win game. You literally have 15 minutes to go out there and turn it around, or we're going to make the changes that we need to because it is a must-win game, and we did that.
So it took until about the 70th minute for us to really find that next gear and start pressuring. So wasn't quite 15. But anyway, Will Kidd was instrumental in that. He netted his second goal against Rapids, the first one that he ever, of course, scored against in the season and against Rapids was to secure that draw away from home. Who else's contribution are you happy with in that second half?
Well, I think we should just start calling him the Rapids killer because it just rolls off the tongue nicely.
Crap killer?
The crap killer. But as far as contributions go, I thought Luke in the second half was massive. Mm-hmm. And I talked to him one-on-one as we were going out to the field. And basically, I said to him, being that, first off, I think he is turning 18 or he's just about ready to turn 18. Might be the youngest guy on our team. Yeah. So what I told him was that,
it's huge.
I know, right? So I told him, I really have a small sample size of him, being that I didn't see a lot of him before he got into the mix. But within that small sample size, whether it be the tapes I saw of him or our friendly when we played Shattuck in our trial period, or even just in training, is that he really has the skills and potential to be the best player on the field out there, right? Like he literally has the entire package. He's got the size, the speed, he's got the skills, he's got the vision. And I just told him that you have the potential really to be the best player out here, and there is no way that I can sit back and not tell him that he has 45 minutes to show us that. And I thought he took that direction really well, and he gave it. I mean, he gave it 110 into the second half, and I thought he created some chances that we could have put away, either himself or his friends, up top or in the middle. I also thought that, you talk about our back line having its problems in the first half, but AO, Trey, and Engel just kept fighting and really took it to them physically and eliminated them and equalized their speed and their trickiness by physicality in the second half. And then started to execute our plan of getting the ball and more directly forward, which is where we were able to, start sparking some chances. So ideally that would have happened in the first half, like we had drawn it up, but obviously we know it didn't. But Engel fought really hard. I thought he played great in the end of the first half and then into the beginning of the second half. Obviously getting kicked in the face doesn't help, but he also is carrying a knee injury, so we had an eye on him. I also thought that AJ, as we already mentioned, just blowing guys up and being that intimidating force in there, really, really did well. And then, Mr. Lunch Pail, Ike Forsgren, did his thing again. Just went in, did his job on the wing. He doesn't complain. He just goes and does what is asked of him. Created a couple chances. I thought he could have been flagged for another penalty kick being taken down from behind, which was a little bit questionable. But also the addition of Max, I thought we put Max in more of a advanced role than he's probably used to playing. He's more of the defensive center midfielder. Mm-hmm. But we have like a glut of those, so we thought we'd give him a shot, and we just told him to bring that energy, and I think it really caused fits. But where we lose things with him in that advanced role is he has the vision, but not necessarily the offensive attacking mind that someone like Samo would have had.
Yeah, I don't think he's that used to shooting. I think we really could have made it a game there near the end. Mm-hmm. The higher pressure, that energy that guys like Ike and Max and even Tim brought led to a number of, I think, really should have been chances at net. But a couple of our guys just couldn't or wouldn't pull the trigger. What is up with that? Is that just MTA disease striking again, where the best play is always to pass to someone else, or were we really not getting the looks that I thought we were?
I think totally did. I think it's that the unwillingness to give the ball up and to take a chance is what that we call the MTA disease.
You're getting too cute.
The other team can't score if you have the ball, kind of thing. Yep. Mm-hmm. Which it totally sucks. I think the width of our field hurts us because there's more space to have kind of those ticky-tacky, like slot through passes in front of goal on a larger field. But being too cute, it killed us. We had our chances, but we were somehow content with keeping possession when we knew we needed to move forward and pull the trigger. And it took a few guys to just throw that to the wind for us to get those chances. And they also were throwing their bodies around, much like indoor players do in that small space, blocking shots and getting stuck in. So, kind of what we're skilled at shot us in the foot. And I've mentioned before with, teams like Barcelona or Germany. Those teams, when they lose because they have a style of play that usually wins. It usually wins 90% of the time, right?
Yep, and when they lose, it's because someone found that weakness and they exploited the hell out of it.
Right, and that's exactly what happened to us, right?
So on the short list of guys that I really wish would have been here all summer is Max Stigwart. How impressive is this guy? Like, he looks, from the first home game when he scored that penalty, right?
Second home game.
Second home game. I'm sorry, he scored that penalty. He wasn't really outstanding on the field. He wasn't someone that I looked at his play and thought, oh man, this guy's gonna be great for us. But all of a sudden, he comes back from the Copa America, training with Paraguay, and he looks really impressive, doesn't he?
Yep, I completely agree. He's very impressive for such a slight guy. We talked about Goose being 5'5", 100 pounds. Max isn't cut from that much of a different cloth, right? But right. It's really, I think, his work ethic is right on point. His vision is right there and head and shoulders above a lot of the players that are on the field. And I really hope to see a guy like him back next year from another year of college. I mean, he's only 19 years old, right? So it's like we have just this incredible...
And he played a little bit at Louisville, but not a ton.
Right. He played more towards the end of the season, which speaks to the same thing that happened with us, is he probably came in, had to feel it out, find his place in the team, and then his talents shone through then. But I think very impressive player, and he's a really nice kid. I hope he comes back next season.
Who else would you single out in what was this nut punch of a game? I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but...
I mean, I think our bench... there's a few guys that I already mentioned, right? The back line, AJ, Ike, but two guys who just did their jobs, and you kind of lose sight of that. One being Trey, who just has done his job all year and has just all the makings to be a pro soccer player once he has his final year of college. And as a result of that, we might see him not be on the team next year because there'll be plenty of offers for a guy of his size and his capability. But also the goal scorer, Will Kidd, didn't do anything spectacular besides obviously score a goal. But just did his job and just worked hard and didn't give up and left it all out in the field. And that's what you want out of a player, right? You don't have to always be the most skilled guy or have all the talents, but if you have that drive to just be part of the what might be successful and work hard at it and forget about the mistakes and just keep moving. It's impressive that he has that engine and we needed that and he scored a goal. So totally the crap killer. But I thought, to kind of give a team game ball away, I think that our bench did a really great job. We said we're going to bring guys in if it's not working. And they came in and they were handed a big hole to dig out of. And they fought like hell to make the first half wrongs right. And that's what they did. And outside of, a questionable penalty call that they had, we almost matched what happened in the first half in the second half.
True. So we've got our last game of the season against the reserves on Sunday. What are we looking for out of this game, and what are we gonna see against these dudes who just got stomped by the worst team in the league?
Well, I think win or lose, we look to stay in third place in our league, and that's no small feat for an upstart organization like us. We should definitely hang our heads high. That was our result in year one, and I kind of told the guys that after the game, and a few of them today, that this is not a bad season by any means, but we still have some work to do. So we move on to United, and the number one thing to me is we have to protect our city. It's a must-win, and it's a must-win for a couple things. Splitting with them would be a step backwards, as we want to prove a point that we're the second best team in the state, just behind their parent club being like a full professional team. So we can't take that step back. We have to use what happened in the last two games as clear motivation to take back the city and to be the best team that's not being paid to play soccer.
Yeah, I mean, we should hold our heads high with this result. I think our great start and our kind of added to this smoldering flame we had going before the season of like we were really excited for these young guys we're bringing in, and then we come out and we draw the best team in the league and we start winning games at home, we start winning games on the road, and all of a sudden we got to share first place, and we're thinking like, holy shit, we can do this thing. And then we kind of hit some speed bumps and that momentum petered out, and I think you're absolutely right. Like third place I think third place would have been exactly where I would have expected us or hoped us to be as the rookie team. Because like I said, I was looking to the Bavarians and the Croatians as the two established teams in this league to take first and second.
Right. I couldn't agree with you more. But as far as what to expect from the reserve game, expect a dogfight They're going to want to avenge the loss from the first match. It's equally as big of a rivalry game in state that we need to look at it as. And some might say that they have more to prove than us, being that their parent club is a professional organization, whereas we're, still very much so the loudmouths on Twitter, right? They have to prove that they're not just the afterthoughts of a future MLS team. So with that said, heavy challenges, high intensity from both sides.
Did you see the afterbirth of the future MLS team?
the afterthought.
Oh.
Well, they've been playing like the afterbirth. We have to see how both teams respond with the pride, not the playoffs on the line, you know? And I only know our organization and our guys, and I fully expect a bounce back from them because they want it so badly. They wanted to make the playoffs so badly. They hate losing. They want to put the work in to right the wrongs. So look for it to be the first team to have it click for them that the season's not over because there's one more game left.
Yep. Cool.
So they'll throw at us probably a more traditional look. Don't expect them to pull like a rabbit out of the hat with some like crazy formation change. I look for them to run a variation of a 4-4-2 or 4-5-1. Nothing out of the ordinary. Players to watch, they still have O'Brien, Alcantara, and Habat in the middle, and the ever-dangerous Whitney Brown up top. And also look at the back. We'll likely see Sam Mann, who Andy Laurie kind of had his way with the first time out. So maybe you look for him to bounce back and kind of use it as a motivator to up his game a little bit because he did get embarrassed through Andy's 2-goal performance. And then I don't know which goalkeeper they're going to bring out. They threw at us their third string first team goalie the first time. They may not. I don't know.
The guy that they threw at us was the third string goalie for the United.
Yeah.
Oh.
So.
Oh man.
Yeah. Right. So as far as what we roll out this week, it's kind of sight to be seen. Still, we took off on Monday to kind of regroup. Let the guys just have some time to get their minds right. But we have training tonight, and the guys who are there will be fighting for their place in the 18, and it's the final 18. So it should be awesome to see how these guys bounce back, and energy will absolutely be high because it is a rivalry match.
Yeah, I think it will be, and I'm excited because it's probably going to be the first away game where we hopefully have a really big contingent of supporters, of citizens.
Yeah, I think traveling citizens, right? Like some came down to Milwaukee. It'll be my first opportunity to actually go on the road outside of the first game. So the bookends for me, which will be great. I fully plan to sit with the citizens in the stands.
Except for Madison.
Except for Madison, where I had to coach, and I fully expected
in the stands.
I fully expected to sit in the stands with the citizens, but through my newly found coaching obligations, I'll be on the field. So we'll see. So you'll have to carry the podcast load in the stands, singing the songs and telling the other team how crap they are.
It's going to be awesome. So what's going on next? That'll do it for us. I want to apologize. My dog is right behind me, so he was chewing on his dog toy, which is a beaver. And it just stinks and it's squeaking, so hopefully nobody heard that over the.
I can smell it through the airwaves. So that'll do it for us. A lot to look forward to this coming weekend. But next week we'll recap the season finale and see how things go, and perhaps talk some kind of end of the season thoughts ahead of what I'd like to do is a full season recap. Kind of go through maybe some player grades and some answers to our teachable moments that we had throughout the season and kind of how we did as an organization.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But Summit's turning 30, Nate, and this year they are not too far away from their biggest party that they've ever thrown in the Summit Backyard Bash, Saturday, September 10th. If you're interested, go online to summitbrewing.com for more information on the bands, the beers they're going to have, get some tickets. Word is Bob Mould is going to be the headliner. So
What? Shut up.
Yep. So that should be a good one.
Can you get me some tickets for that, dude?
Maybe. I don't know. I got some pull. And if
We plug them every week.
we plug them every week. They're official sponsor. But if you're interested in volunteering, I know a big group of Stegman's guys volunteered last year. We're going to be volunteering again. So volunteering gets you a shift and then a ticket into the fund. So so perhaps if anyone's interested, email the podcast for that and anything else soccer related at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at MPLSCity, myself at Johnny Business. As always, that's no H, 2 N's, 2 Z's, 2 S's. Or you can follow Nate at Mexinate, Mexinate.
That's right.
So that is all for this week. I am Coach Bizworm, and that is clearly the game announcing host with the most, Nate. And this has been, once again, the best thing you will likely hear all week.
That's right.
Let our boys from Go Get 'Em Tiger blast us out of here with cheat codes. Thank you so much. We move on, people. Soccer is a gift and a funny game.
Go play some Pokemon.
Or real soccer.